Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alice, and I'm a part of the team behind the She++ Pound Include Talks, a conversation series focusing on helping students explore pathways into technology. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Juliette Woodrow, a PhD candidate in computer science at Stanford, whose work focuses on building AI systems that support learning. So, thank you so much for being here, Juliette. I'd love to start by having you briefly introduce yourself and what you're currently working on.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. My name's Juliette. I'm a fourth year a PhD candidate in computer science. And most of my research is really fun to me. I get to work on researching how we can use AI to improve teaching and learning broadly. I can jump into my slides.
Sounds awesome.
Perfect. Okay, so hi, my name's Juliette, and I thought I'd share a little bit about how I went from learning to code to now researching AI in education broadly for this talk. So, a little bit about me. I'm originally from Colorado. I love Taylor Swift. I love reading. I love traveling. Just to give you guys a little bit more context on myself outside of my computer science life, I came to Stanford when I was 17, and I've actually been here ever since. So it's almost coming up on 10 years, which is so exciting. Cool. So to tell you guys a little bit about my pathway into computer science, when I was in high school, we didn't have any computer science at my high school, so I really had no experience with computer science at that point. I did really like math. I also really liked teaching my friends, so I loved helping them with their homework and all of those sorts of things. That's always been something I've been passionate about. I started undergrad at Stanford in 2017. I took my first computer science course in the winter quarter of my freshman year, mostly because everybody just said it was so much fun and that I should try it. I loved that class so much. It was definitely really challenging for me. It didn't come very easily to me, but I just had a lot of fun. The programming exercises were like puzzles to me. I've always loved puzzles. So, yeah, I really liked it. And then at Stanford, after you take a couple of the intro computer science courses, you can actually start teaching computer science as a TA. So I started that my sophomore year and I just loved it. It was just like my experience helping my friends in high school, but I got to do it even more broadly and actually get paid to do it, which was super fun. I continued this throughout the rest of my undergrad, and I also just kept taking computer science courses because they just kept continuing to be fun. So I don't think I ever really made, the choice to go down this path. I just kept taking classes that were fun to me. And I think they always stayed tough. I don't think they ever got easier, but it kept being like these puzzles that I got to solve throughout the process. I loved Stanford so much and I had so much fun teaching and learning that I stayed for my master's degree. So I stayed for an extra year to work on that. And in my master's degree, I actually had the opportunity to be the instructor for the intro computer science course that I took over the summer. So that was like a really exciting full circle moment for me because I got to now be the person introducing so many people to the world of computer science, which was just such a joy. After that, during my master's, I started my very first research project. So I never had any experience doing research before that. But in my master's, I got connected with this professor and we built a tool that was to help new TAs acclimate to being a TA very quickly. And so to me, it was such a fun research project because it was so close to things that I loved. Like I loved teaching computer science. I loved helping people teach computer science. And so we got to build this fun tool. I have a photo of it. You can see it's definitely a very intro research project, but we built a tool where you could see somebody's code and then you could try and say, okay, what bugs and what misconceptions might they be facing at this time? And that was a really fun research project. I had so much fun building tools and researching them for people to use that I just continued working on projects in this area. One of those projects is called Code in Place, which is something that my advisor started, and it's the same intro computer science course we have at Stanford, but we teach it to many people in the world. And we take that same secret sauce where you have TAs meet with students, and we bring that to this online learning platform. Since starting, we've had over 60,000 students and over 5,000 teachers join the platform. And a lot of what I get to do is making sure Code in Place is running and making sure students get to learn and teach through this platform. One of the things that I built in Code in Place is I co-created this system that can spontaneously match teachers with students. So when you're learning online, it can feel lonely and isolating and you might want help. And so we built this system so that students can actually work with teachers. And just a single session increased course retention by 15%, which is a pretty crazy stat because we've tried lots of other things in this course that haven't gotten us this big of a jump. So that was really fun. And then more recently, we've expanded who can be a teacher and when. So now we've actually let students start teaching other students because we think that probably the best time to teach somebody is when you've just learned it yourself. So that's what we've been working on in Code in Place. So then I started my PhD to continue this research in 2022, and I'm currently in my fourth year of my PhD. I'm still loving it. It's so much fun. I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I've been working on in my PhD because I think at least I didn't know what a PhD was really before I got into it. So I'll talk a little bit about what I've done during my PhD. So I worked on a few different research projects that are really exciting. My favorite way to do research is I kind of read about a cool algorithm or something happening in the AI space, and I see if we can bring that into education. So a few years ago, there was this algorithm called direct preference optimization, and it's a way to make large language models output text that sounds more similar to what a human would actually say. And we applied this in our setting by trying to give feedback to students on their assignments that doesn't sound like a language model giving you feedback. And it was really successful. Using our model, people preferred this much more than just feedback from ChatGPT in this case. Another one of my projects is taking this idea in probability, which is called mutual information, and we're basically able to turn that theory into a large language model prompt, and we can get serious gains and kind of broaden the way that large language models can be used to solve these problems. So by taking these kind of like math and theoretical concepts and then turning them into large language model prompts, we're able to get these big gains. It's really fun. Another one of my projects is seeing if we can represent grades with some uncertainty. So whenever somebody takes an exam, you can imagine the night before, maybe you're tired or maybe for some other reason, you're not going to perform your best. So could we model that uncertainty in your grade? And it turns out that modeling that uncertainty is actually state of the art for things like predicting missing grades, and things like that. So this was another really fun project. And I think these three projects kind of highlight my favorite flavor of research, where I get to take something technical and apply it into the field of education to hopefully help people learn, help us understand students better, help us teach better, etc. Some other fun things during my PhD, you get to present research in cool places. So these are photos of me presenting research, but outside of these walls are in cool cities like Dublin or Milan, or some examples of places that I've gotten to go, which is really fun. PhD is really about the friends you make along the way. So these are just some of the photos of the amazing people that I've gotten to work with during my PhD. So that's another fun aspect of doing computer science. You get to meet a lot of really cool and nice people who also want to work on things you want to work on. And then lastly, I've gotten to do more teaching. So just last winter, I was actually the instructor for a course on probability and machine learning at Stanford, which was really, really fun. And another full circle moment because I took this course when I was a sophomore. It was so hard. I struggled with it so much. And it was such a cool experience to then go and be the teacher many years later. Okay, so that's just a brief overview. To give you guys some context, I think we're living in very interesting times. Who knows what comes next in terms of AI and education, in terms of kind of where the world is going, etc.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that awesome presentation, Julia. It's super interesting to hear about all the research that you've been doing and also how you first got into exploring computer science. So, yeah, that's really helpful context. I'd love to go back to the beginning a little bit, especially for students who might be earlier in that journey. So, you mentioned not having any prior CS experience before coming to Stanford in high school. So, was it always a smooth path once you began sort of finding your interest and niche in computer science, or were there moments where things kind of felt uncertain? And how did you navigate that?
Great question. Many moments where I felt uncertain. I think I didn't really see myself as somebody who would like study computer science. I think when I started, I just took classes because my friends had said they were fun. And it kind of took me a while to see myself, even like many classes in, as somebody who like was a computer scientist, I guess. I think classes were always really hard for me in computer science. And I think I especially felt like a lot of my peers had more experience. And I think at the beginning that was really discouraging to me. But one of my professors at Stanford showed me like a plot of like, I guess like the learning curve. And the idea was like some people might come in with more experience, but like pretty soon you'll catch them.
Hmm.
And her opinion was that lots of people who actually don't have computer science experience can surpass people because they're used to maybe putting in more time and effort to learning things early on. And I feel like that was definitely true for me. Like, I think at the beginning I felt really behind, but after like one or two or three classes, I was pretty caught up with my peers. And especially in terms of Stanford curriculum, like I was never behind. Like I was actually able to take a quarter off. I was able to do a master's in 5 years, like all of these things. So I think even if you have no experience, or if you're starting the classes late, it might feel discouraging, but I think just stick with it and you're always on a good path.
Yeah, totally. I think that's super important to realize. And I think that's something a lot of students also really need to hear is that they sometimes just need to believe in this themselves and take the first step and then keep working on it. So yeah, when you were first learning these like technical topics like probability or machine learning, um, did you seek out any like support systems? What actually helped things start to kind of click for you?
Great question. I think there were two main things that I felt like helped me be successful in my computer science classes. The first was definitely asking for and getting support when I needed it. So I would go to office hours all the time. That's actually a way that I would like make friends in my computer science classes. And then when you take
Totally.
the next class, you have like a bunch of friends who just took this last class with you, too. So I feel like that was super important to me. It would also help me schedule like when I would work on my homework because I would just kind of like sit quietly in the back of office hours, work on my homework, and then whenever I had a question, there were people there usually who could help me. So I feel like that was something that was really nice. And then also not overloading myself. So I feel like some people feel pressure to take like
Mm.
so many units or so many classes in one quarter. And just for me, I was never able to like learn super deeply when I was taking all of those classes. So I tried to be super intentional about like, okay, take one class that I think is going to be super time consuming in a quarter. Try to mix it up. So like, okay, if I'm taking a hard computer science class, maybe take like a fun creative writing class or like something where I could work my brain in different avenues, as opposed to, I feel like some people try and cram a bunch of hard classes on top of each other. And that was not something that ever worked well for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of students also struggle with like how to learn, not just like what to learn. So it's really important to remember that there's like a lot of support systems, especially these days where there's so many resources online you can look into, and even tools like AI, which we'll discuss. So yeah, a lot of students right now are worried that using AI tools, while they might be very beneficial to learn new concepts and get interested in new topics, it might make them overly dependent or like prevent them from really learning. So, do you have any thoughts on how students can use AI in a way that actually supports their understanding, especially within the field of like STEM and CS?
Totally. I feel like that is such an important thing that students in college these days have to work on that I feel like maybe I didn't have to work on because I just didn't have access to all those tools. So I love the question. Um, Okay, I think I'll start by saying like I think AI can really help people learn so much these days. Like anytime you have a question or you're stuck, you can get pretty much immediate help that's pretty high quality, in my opinion. So I feel like definitely use them as you can. Like don't be stuck when you have this awesome support system. I think that said, definitely recognizing when you might be over relying on it. And I like to think of it kind of before AI. And now, but people like would work with their peers, and we would have kind of guidelines on how you should be completing assignments with your peers. And it was saying you would want to be communicating with them, but to the point where like you could still explain all of the learning and go from the beginning of the assignment to the end of the assignment like completely by yourself. At the end of the assignment, so you should be writing it up, and you should be doing kind of all of that hard learning work yourself. And I think if you can use AI the same way, so you can use it as a thought partner to say like, oh, I'm pretty confused on how to get started here, or oh, I think this is connecting with this topic from class, but I'm actually confused about this topic. Could you explain it to me? Etc. But see, like if you think that if the AI model that you're using was actually like a person you were meeting with, would they be doing too much of the work for you? Is kind of one way to gauge that. I think another great way AI could be used is when you have your homework problems, your teacher can only create so many homework problems for you to do, but your AI model can create many more. So if you're worried that you're over relying on it, you could say like, okay, could you create 5 more problems for me? And then see, can you do any of those on your own now? And if you can't, that's probably a sign that maybe you're relying a little bit too heavily on the language model.
Yeah, I think that framing makes total sense. Like AI can support your thinking, but not replace it. Um, Super interesting advice that everyone should always remember. What's something that you think that students often misunderstand what it takes to succeed in computer science these days?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, one, maybe this isn't answering the question directly, but when I was in computer science, I felt like my peers would always say like, "Oh, to do well, you have to like stay up all night and you have to like kind of be this certain type of person who spends all these hours coding and kind of like that perception." And I just feel like I really didn't have that experience. So I think like you can be a computer scientist and like do all these classes and just like have it fit your own lifestyle. So like if you don't want to stay up all night coding, like you totally don't have to. So I feel like that's one thing, like just seeing that like whatever your lifestyle is or your personality, you can definitely succeed in it. I think that said, one thing that I've learned from computer science, especially, is like you fail a lot before you succeed, right? You have like bugs and you have to fix them, and you have bugs and you have to fix them. And it's kind of this process where you really learn a lot of grit. And so I think at the beginning, if you're not succeeding, like that's totally normal. That's actually a sign that you're learning, and those skills will help you like later on down the line. I always write code, it still has bugs. It's always going to have bugs. And so these skills that you're learning, like how to debug, you'll just take with you throughout the rest. So I think sometimes people think if they're not succeeding at the beginning, they're not doing well at it. But for computer science, that's totally not true. You're going to fail a lot more than you succeed, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that idea of grit is like so important, just knowing to keep believing in yourself. There's a lot of other people who are just like yourself at the beginning who started out in their journey that you can seek out as mentors and support systems. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it must be nice to know like to be on both sides of the teaching spectrum now. You've once been a student, just getting acquainted with CS, and now you're on the other side, being an instructor and working on like research to advance teaching. So many students are interested in technology and also want to work on problems that feel meaningful, like education. So how can students start like kind of identifying real world problems where they can use technology to create impact?
Such a good question. I feel like I'm still figuring out how to do this every day. So we're something we're all working on. Um, I think I think the most exciting problems to work on are the ones that you're going to be most excited to work on, if that makes sense. So, like, just because I'm interested in something, someone else might not be interested in it, and it won't be as exciting of a project for them. So, I feel like find something that you're truly excited about. And then, two, I always think, like, what's something you need? And so, like, something just from this conversation is if students are worried that they're like over relying on AI, oh, could you build some kind of tool to check? Like, how much are you over relying or something like that? Like, I don't know the answer, but it's kind of like questions that you have. Can you see if you can build tools to work on those questions as well? I think now is such an exciting time to be building because there's all these amazing AI tools that can help people. Like before, it was really hard to make a website if you didn't know how to make a website, but now that's become a lot easier. So hopefully, people who have ideas can actually just start building and trying them out a lot more quickly. So I would say, I guess overall, like find problems you're passionate about. See if there's things in your own life that you can just start building for. I feel like a lot of my peers have told me they've built things for like their family or their friends. Somebody I know built an app where they speak their native language, but they don't write it very well. And so they built an app where they can like practice writing their native language. And so kind of things like that where you can identify them in your own life. And then lastly, just try and go for it. Just see what you and AI can build these days. Yeah, that's probably my advice.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and insights. I think conversations like this can really help students see that there isn't just one path into technology, and it's also okay to figure things out along the way. So, yeah, thank you so much, Julia. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to share this with students. Hope you enjoyed this episode of She Plus Plus Talks, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.